So I'm here in Oklahoma City, where I've been staying with Ashton's family for about a week, and we're about to take off to head towards Hot Springs, Arkansas. Interesting history in that town. I think Bill Clinton lived there for a while, or I don't know if he was from there, but lots of corruption and gangster activity, I think, back in the 20s and 30s, and Al Capone used to hang out there. Big gambling scene, illegal gambling, and government corruption. And anyways, they seem to have cleaned it up, and now it's just a beautiful resort town. I'm sure most of those spas and bathhouses are closed for the reason that we're in a pandemic, but maybe not. Oklahoma, Arkansas, some of these southern states seem to have a different attitude about germ theory. But we'll see. I'm not going to visit the baths, but we're going to check out the national park there. I know it was important to the indigenous population that used to roam these parts before Europeans invaded. And I watched the debate last night, and just before that I gave a little talk on the Stoa. They call it a wisdom gym over there, and it was great to share a bit. I called my talk the spiritual mission of America in the Anthropocene. And right after I gave that talk, I watched the debate, and I just wanted to share some thoughts. Because, in my talk at the Stoa, I was trying to find some way to build a viable, build back better, an American myth that would be inclusive of the diversity that has always inhabited this continent. And that, I wanted to say that the United States of America, but not just the governmental structure, but the national ethos, which I think it's not just, it can't just be a white man's project, this United States of America thing. Because, as Luther Standing Bear, I think, said in the early part of the 20th century, like, only the Indian can save America, because only Native Americans, the indigenous people, have lived on this continent long enough to have embodied its geography, to wear its weather as their clothing, and indeed to feel at home here. And if European settlers can't come to feel at home here in a different way, right, that doesn't involve fossil fuel extraction, fracking, damming rivers, monocropping, we're earlier centuries, cotton farming, which not only was it a crime against humanity to enslave African Americans, but it was ecologically disastrous, destroying topsoil just in this march west to exploit people and land for profit. There's a dark shadow looming over this country, and we have many sins to atone for, and not just the original sins of genocide and slavery. I mean, the militarism of the 20th century, second half of the 20th century, and continuing into the 21st, millions, tens of millions, maybe 100 million, who knows? We don't keep accurate counts of these things because brown bodies don't matter to our military. I mean, I think I just need to say that, or at least they don't matter as much. So who knows how many Iraqi civilians really died in the George Bush II's war over there, or in the first Gulf War, or in the Vietnam War, how many civilians died. So we have a lot to atone for as a nation, but I think there is still something valuable about the, I call it the American ethos. And I know, well, what is America really? Why doesn't it include, I think someone asked a question I couldn't get to in the Stoa. I think they were maybe South American or Central American. And like, what is this American exceptionalism supposed to mean for me? And it's like, well, shit. I mean, the United States military and the CIA has done a lot of damage, been very violent and oppressive in its activities in South and Central America over the years, right? And so reparations are due. And also, to say that America is exceptional is not to say that other countries aren't exceptional. I mean, the idea here is that, yes, the human family is diverse, and each member of the family, each people, has something important to contribute to the project of awakening the spirit of universal humanity, right? All the particular peoples, races, ethnicities, nations, have something to contribute, a unique gift that they, through their history as a people, realized, a unique gift to bestow upon humanity as a whole. And we're not yet there. We haven't yet become human in that fullest sense that, I'm trying to envision here. So what is America's gift? I think it has something to do with the value of individual experience, and the understanding of this sort of community that would allow that individual to be self-evidently have the right to life, liberty, and happiness, right? That's bold. Every individual self-evidently has the right to life, liberty, and happiness. I mean, that's written into our founding documents, right? No nation has ever claimed such high ideals before. And of course, since the very moment this country was created, the Constitutional Convention and all of this written into law, like, we failed to live up to these ideals in a number of ways. It was originally a country where these ideals only applied in practice to white landowning men, property-owning men, many of whom owned other people as property. And so, it's been a very slow, gradual process as we've trudged through history trying to live up to these ideals, and we still got a ways to go, but I think it would be a mistake not to recognize and grant that progress has been made. But it's hard, given the situation that we're in now as the world's oldest surviving democracy. Watching that debate last night, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, at this point, it's like, yes, reality TV has swallowed the presidency. And this already had been the case with Trump, a reality TV star, a clown, right? He's made for TV. He's an entertainer. So Biden's right about that. But in his own way, so is Biden. I mean, they're performers. And the actual power in this country that funds the corporate duopoly, that funds our elections, these wealthy interests are trying to keep us distracted. And, yeah, vote for Biden, whatever, the neoliberal austerity that we'll get with a Democratic presidency and Senate and Congress will be slightly less frightening than a neo-fascist Trump presidency for 4 more years. But as far as I'm concerned, and I've been saying this for a while, but trying to kind of keep it quiet because I'm conflicted about attacking Biden, because I do see that there's a marginal difference here and that Trump is uniquely dangerous. But at the end of the day, we're dealing with a corporate duopoly, and for Biden to be up there pretending to take the high ground on something like climate change or the ecological crisis, by rolling his eyes at Trump, the science disbeliever, and then talking about going on and on in a, rather inarticulate way about weatherizing a few million homes. It's like, I'm sorry, it's not 1980, it's not 1990, like, weatherizing homes while continuing to frack and subsidize the fossil fuel industry to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars a year. I mean, we can't continue that and expect to survive. If we don't mobilize at the level of like a wartime transformation of our economy in order to prepare and respond for climate change, and not just looking at carbon emissions, but looking at the ways that we farm. Yes, looking at the ways that we eat. Trump's talking about taking away our cows. Well, we got to rethink factory farming. I'm sorry. It's another, no offense to the Jews, I'm half of one, but it's an animal holocaust. So the United States has so much to atone for. And it's not going to be easy, but we're going to, and here it's something like the Green New Deal, right? It's not just an economic plan to transform our infrastructure from the fossil fuel mode of production to the renewable mode of production. It's also a reimagination of our very sense of value, right? And so, yeah, environmentalism is not good for capitalism. But this notion that we could continue to grow the economy and grow the human population forever at the clip of whatever 4 or 5% that these capitalist priests, economists want us to be able to grow it at, it's like, that's not gonna work. It's totally out of step with the biophysical reality of this planet. And so we need a renewable economy, not a industrial growth economy. It's just not feasible anymore. The petroleum interval is over. And Biden is also a clown on this issue. The whole Democratic Party is fooling us with anything less than, even the Green New Deal, as AOC has laid it out, is already a compromise in so many ways. Because we're locked in to a certain degree of, ecological collapse at this point. We can do a lot now to avert what's already coming in the next decades, but yeah, we're off the precipice, and I don't see any answers from the two major parties. I see a lot of distraction. I see a lot of understandable apathy in most of the American population, particularly young people who just aren't going to vote because they've long ago given up on the politicians that partake in this pageant we call the American election, fully funded by billionaires and corporations. So, we need to find new sources of meaning and value, and I admit that it's a long shot now to think that something like a Green New Deal could be operationalized because we just don't have a functioning government. And so I guess we need to start as locally as we can and work our way out, one human relationship, one relationship to place at a time. Maybe that's the best we can do. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is depressing. Maybe this is cynical, but deeper underneath my cynicism about the two major political parties and the choice that we have in this election season, which neo-fascism is different from neoliberalism. Even if neoliberalism enables neo-fascism, even if 4 years of a Biden administration and austerity is going to lead to more social unrest and economic injustice, which will only fuel the rise of probably a more articulate, potentially dangerous Trump 2.0. At least it buys us some time. I don't want Trump to, I don't know. I really don't know. We're in such an uncertain moment. Curious how you guys are holding all of it. Let me know.